Hi, and welcome to Charlotte Talks Transformers, where we'll be taking a look at Transformers Animated, Episode 3, well, Season 2, Episode 3, Mission Accomplished. But before we get into Transformers, I kind of want to address where I've been. It's not really any sort of like a grand story, just sort of a series of events that meant I wasn't able to keep updating the way I wanted to. So I think it's been maybe 3 weeks or something since my last video. In the new year, I hope to have videos up once a week again. But yeah, basically I started a new job, started a D&D campaign, and got sick. So that's my grand wild adventure of why I haven't been posting as regularly. So I'm sorry. Stick with me, guys. Or don't, you know. So, damn. Okay, if last episode was bad, I got a comment saying I was really gonna like this episode, and sorry I can't remember your username, but you were right. Holy shit. This episode was entertaining. Very dense, a lot happened. I'm gonna try to tell you as much of it as I can without totally screwing it up because, yeah, this was a very dense episode. But it basically starts off where Ultra Magnus is essentially court-martialing, in a way, Optimus Prime. I'm not 100% sure why, but they basically want him to go to Cybertron, him and all the rest of the Autobots, and go to Cybertron and basically testify. I don't really know what brought this on. I guess it's because they were like in dereliction of their duties, like they were space bridge technicians, and then they kind of just effed off to Earth to go apparently hang out. That's how it looks to the rest of Autobot High Command and everything. Like, they don't really have a reason for being on Earth. They abandoned their post, so they need to get back and start repairing space bridges.
I think also, too, they're kind of like, we want to awash all the fears that Decepticons exist.
Well, because the thing is, I don't know if anyone was actually saying anything about that. You know,
only
what I mean?
Optimus was like, there's Decepticons here. And
well, I don't
like,
think it's
no.
actually gotten back to, oh, that's right. Yeah, at the very beginning of the episode, there was sort of another Autobot, and he appeared to be being attacked, and I don't remember if he was being attacked specifically by Decepticons, but there seems to be that fear. Yeah, you're right, you're absolutely right. There was that fear on Cybertron that Decepticons were coming back, so they wanted to sort of ease the fears a little bit. So they wanted Optimus Prime to basically go and say, no, there's no Decepticons. Go on with your regular everyday lives. Of course, as we all know, there are Decepticons, and they make an appearance, all of them. Kind of the first one that we see is Starscream, and as we remember from the end of Season 1, Megatron essentially, like, I forget if he, like, stabbed Starscream or, like, shot him or something, but Starscream appeared to be like fallen, and so it seems that they actually did kind of kill him because we see him and he's floating in like a garbage heap down the river. It looks like he's going to the dump or something. So they killed him and threw him in the garbage, and he's going to the dump, right? So kind of ruthless. I guess he did actually die, but as we find out, he's not really dead. And this episode it had probably one of the best sequences I've seen, where we find out that Starscream is now effectively immortal. He has an Allspark shard embedded in his forehead, and he can no longer die. And so we get this sequence where he finds Megatron and the rest of the Decepticons, and he keeps trying to kill Megatron, and Megatron keeps killing him back. And then it just keeps showing Lugnut and Blitzwing, like, throwing him off the edge of a cliff into the river, like, over and over again. It's like Groundhog Day for Starscream. But it sort of brings up an interesting thing that I noticed, because okay, I'm gonna go back all the way to G1, where I believe Starscream died in G1, but then he shows up again in Beast Wars, apparently having an immortal spark of some kind, and please correct me if I'm wrong, it's been a long time since I've seen any of these shows. So it looks like they're continuing on the Starscream immortal spark bit, which is kind of interesting. It's a bit of an homage to, like, past iterations. So, I really like it. It's pretty cool. It's an interesting new dynamic where Starscream now knows he's immortal, and he also has the ability, because of the Allspark in his forehead, to find other Allspark shards. So, very, very interesting stuff. It's going to be really interesting to see what comes of this in the future, because, of course, it's probably going to be a major, major plot point. Another thing that kind of happened was Megatron, now he's sort of at an advantage. He has Professor, I keep wanting to say Professor Fanzone and Captain Sumdac. He has Professor Sumdac, and oh, Rod, do you remember what it was that he got Professor Sumdac to create?
Decepticon masking technology.
Right.
Masks all their energy signatures.
Yeah, so the Decepticons now have, because of Professor Sumdac's technology and like his reverse engineering, I guess he was able to mask the Decepticon signature, which in my mind brings up a whole host of questions. It's like, are Decepticons an entirely different species? Like that they would have an entirely different register on radar, what have you? Like, I don't know, are they? They never quite confirm it, but it's like, if they're the same as Autobots, like species-wise, if they're all Cybertronian, shouldn't they have the exact same signature? Or do the Decepticons, they clearly don't purposely make their signature Decepticon signatures. So it's almost like they are sort of like a subspecies of the wider Cybertronian race. I don't know. It's kind of, it brings up interesting questions to me. I don't remember if they ever address it, but it does almost give the impression that Decepticons and Autobots are fundamentally different on like some sort of a fundamental level. I don't know. That's not a very scientific thing that I just said, but I trust you guys all know what I mean. So anyways, the Decepticons can now mask themselves, and this is part of the reason why the Autobots don't really believe that they're on Earth, is because they haven't really picked up any signatures. So now what they want Professor Sumdac to do is basically create a device that allows them to talk to Decepticons all over the galaxy, the universe, what have you. Basically, sub-something communication. I don't remember exactly the word, but they...
Subspace communication.
Subspace communication. And they needed a tachyon... What was it again?
A tachyon transmitter.
See, I'm forgetting all these terms, I swear to God. They needed a tachyon transmitter, which... I know tachyons are a real thing, but I don't really kind of know what they actually are. But anyways, it turns out that Autobot High Command, which is like the ship Ultra Magnus came in, essentially, has this tachyon transmitter so that they can now communicate to Decepticons everywhere they steal it without much fuss. And now they're able to essentially plan behind the Autobots' backs. And then we actually find out at the end of the episode, this allows them to become in communication with a hidden agent that's basically a sleeper agent on Cybertron infiltrating the Autobots. So the plot thickens, guys. We're getting a little not only like deeper plotline, but a little political as well. Like you start to see a little bit more of what's going on with basically the interpersonal relationships between Autobots and Decepticons, and like Autobots and Autobots. And it's really interesting. Like you're really getting a feel for this war, you know, like now sleeper agents are coming into it and court martials are coming into it. It's very interesting stuff. Aside from that, there was a bit of a minor plot line with Sorry where it looked like it was kind of lame because it never really came to anything, but it looked like the Autobots were going to have to leave and they were going to have to leave Sorry behind, and so Sorry went to go hang out with not Professor Fanzone, Captain Fanzone. She went to go hang out with Captain Fanzone under the assumption that maybe he would like take care of her, but then it kind of came to nothing. And you know, we got some fun moments with Captain Fanzone and Sorry, but it was it didn't really need to be in the episode. It was a little bit of a waste of time. Something that did happen, it was kind of the climax of the episode, but Starscream gets an Allspark shard, and he puts the Allspark shard in a subway train, like a commuter train, and he rigs it to blow up. And his thing is that he's gonna use that to lure in Megatron, and that's gonna be his you know, grand plot to finally be rid of Megatron. But instead, Ultra Magnus gets the signature, and so him and Jazz go out, and then Optimus Prime realizes, oh no, this is a mistake, this is a Decepticon trap, but no one believes him, and so he ends up having to stasis cuff Sentinel Prime, who, of course, that was pretty funny, but he tries to kind of make a bigger deal of it afterwards, where it's like, you know, he went against orders and he did this and that. And yeah, he's kind of right. I mean, I don't know in what other military you can kind of stasis cuff your commander and get away with it, but Optimus Prime totally did. But anyways, I'm getting a bit ahead of myself. He stasis cuffs Sentinel Prime, and then him and all of the other Autobots go off to go and like save the day, and it's a big thing where they, you know, decouple the train and this and that, and finally it gets revealed that, oh yes, Decepticons are in fact on Earth because Starscream, he basically comes back for, I believe Megatron like shoots him out of the sky, and then he crashes conveniently in front of the Autobots and in front of Ultra Magnus and Jazz and Sentinel Prime and all of them, and they're like, oh my goodness, what is that? And Optimus Prime is kind of like, oh, I guess you guys haven't seen a Decepticon before, you know, kind of lording it over a little bit. But there was a really, really, really great battle where Starscream is now immortal, and so they're throwing everything they got at this freaking guy, and he's not going down, and in fact he looks kind of like, almost like zombie-ish, you know? He was just kind of like slowly walking away, and here they are like throwing whatever they have at him, and he's just like, you know? It was very like, it was well done, you know? There was a bit of tension going on there. But eventually they end up pulling the stasis cuff trick on him, stasis cuff him, bolt his mouth shut, and they're now taking him back to Cybertron, I believe, because they load him up into Ultra Magnus' ship. So, yeah, it's sort of like a bit of a recap where we are now is that Ultra Magnus decided that because Optimus Prime and his crew proved themselves, they were allowed to stay on Earth and search for more shards of the Allspark, and so, you know, they basically have the full support of the Autobot High Command now, I guess. But yeah, to sort of recap, Megatron has a sleeper agent on Cybertron and is now able to subspace communicate with the wider Decepticon army. Starscream is now an immortal and is appearing on his way to Cybertron, and the Autobots are sticking around on Earth. So this episode was a bit of a widening of the scope of things, like, and a lot of like kind of reveals as well about like, you know, the reveal that Starscream is now immortal, the reveal that Megatron has sleeper agents and stuff like that. So it looks like things are kicking up a notch, and it's only episode 3 of season 2, and I think we have 15 odd episodes, something like that. So anyways, I'll stop babbling now. I've been kind of rambling on for a while, but great episode, great episode. Gonna be really interesting to see where we go here, especially Immortal Starscream. Hands down, this is currently my favorite plot line because he's fantastic. Everything Starscream does is fantastic. But yeah, that's the episode. Please leave a comment, subscribe. Would love to hear from you. And until next time, goodbye.